Hey, first of all, I want to say, everybody, thank you for coming out. It's really weird to do this after just doing a horoscope, big, deep astrology show that I do every week, where I go really deep into a week. But I thought that we should go way beyond a week. If people want to go beyond a week of what's going on, what I see coming up, how far do you guys want to go? I want to make this like a group thing.
We'll go into Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Should we go through 20?
You know what I mean? Because I usually have like a talk like set.
How about eternity?
Eternity?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can talk, we'll do that as a question. So the question is eternity. Is there a point of what the consciousness is that we're at right now of humans and the collective that reaches an end point? Because you have to look at the opposite of eternity being forever. But what happened to the Mayans?
True.
What happened to the Egyptians?
True.
Are we, have you guys watched OA yet on Netflix?
I watched the first season.
Yeah, I watched first season.
Do you think that we all get to a point of consciousness and where the astrology's at with these extreme rare configurations, like one, Saturn in its home sign with this Neptune sextile in its home sign, that's millenniums. Like, and remember, Neptune was found in 1848, so we've never consciously had Neptune in its home sign with Saturn in its home sign ever in a perfect angle, which into my belief system is a quest, right? There's like this destiny lineup happening right now, but is it really the true ascension into another dimension that actually people will choose and not even know, but like kind of cross into it? Because there's this huge fear wall up right now, right? Of like how to live your life, what choice you need to make. There's the Jupiter-Neptune square that's insane because it's Jupiter in its home sign, Neptune in its home sign, and this whole year it's going back and forth. We just had the second pass this last couple days. So it brings up, am I crazy? Am I gonna go to hell if I do astrology? Am I a weirdo?
I'm sorry.
You know, this is the weirdo right here, man. Yeah.
Pineapple medicine into the room?
Am I bringing pineapple into the room? Like, what the heck?
The pineal.
Hey, that's deep.
He just brought the pineal man in the room.
But really, the question is like, are you willing to free yourself to go to wherever this next, which I believe the more I'm going into this with these, especially if you look at Neptune and Uranus in a semi-square, which is very rare because Neptune and Uranus met in 93, which the internet came out, right? So now you're at the first 45-degree angle of a hard aspect of the internet. Why do you think social media is going weird? Why do you think people feel so disconnected because of social media and the internet and all this stuff? Is it also, though, because Neptune and Uranus to me are multi-dimensional planets in a weird angle that actually created a new dimension in 93? That's why people born in 93, 94, you guys are insane.
You probably like them.
I thought I did, but things are changing. No, I'm just kidding. But there's something about that aspect happening while Jupiter-Neptune since 1852, 1853, but you have to remember at that time that was major belief system changes in the world between slavery, and also it was a major split in the Christian theology of like everybody was going into their own direction with Christianity, right? It was like people started to form their own churches. That was like, it was just like people kind of got lost and then they went to alcohol. Now you see heroin is so intense where people are, back then you'd be like, well, why is somebody drinking so much? Well, it was normal to have it for breakfast. It was normal to have it for lunch. It was normal to have it for dinner and then drink later. And it brought prohibition years later. Believe it or not, the prohibition movement started right before the Civil War in 61, but because there was a war, it got stunted because what got the soldiers through was alcohol, you know? So there is this dimensional shift that's happening that a lot of people, number one, think is a crock of shit, but it's not a crock of shit, in my opinion, based off the astrology. That the future is so uncertain because it's not certain which everybody's timeline dimension shift they're going to choose here. That's what I really believe. That it's so hard to see beyond right now because the choice of your true self is at its biggest peak of whatever you align with that within yourself. The reason why I've been bringing up OA a lot, the show, was because in that show it was about integrating. They basically jump dimensions, but if you jump into another dimension of yourself, you have to integrate that self and the self that you were into one. And so there is like this integration part of all parts of who you are right now that instead of denying and pushing aside, like I'm bad because I'm that way, or I shouldn't be that way, that's a bad thing to be, is causing you to not be able to have the power to get through this very intense, heavy wave of dimensional headwinds that are coming at us. And if you're not in your true form of all those forms, it feels like a wave that's going to hit you, and you're not going to, you won't puncture through, if that makes sense.
I'm not going to go to heaven.
Correct, and a lot of it, honestly, is based upon this Saturn-Neptune alignment, Jupiter-Neptune. Everything is based on Neptune, really, because Neptune is the focal point of the most things going on. I don't even say this on Deep Astrology, but I am live on YouTube right now, so. But Neptune rules multidimensional realities. And with virtual reality coming out at such a high rate, with the internet square of 93 to now with a semi-square, are people going to do the matrix thing and plug into a computer system that will trap them forever, basically? Or will you free yourself from this ideology of, I am going to free my soul fully, even though it will look like I am insane, and not be part of that and dimension shift into the one where it doesn't get trapped into the light, or whatever you want to call it. And I believe that 2020 with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, there is never in our lives been a point. And I think that people dimension shift every couple thousand years, and I believe that the one that's coming is the 2021 into 2024, and by 2026, 2027, when we get to these amazing transits in the astrology with the outer planets, when you get Uranus in Gemini, you get Pluto in Aquarius trining, is kind of a moment of all the work light workers are doing during this 8-year period of 2019 to 2027 of helping people jump into the right energy, that it's not going to feel like I'm moving into another dimension. What if you just wake up like you wake up every morning and everything feels the same, looks the same, but you don't even realize that the world turned into a much more positive direction? Like, because people are too lost in the reality sense of, gosh, the whales are dying, and then this is dying, and then no. What if, like, literally you woke up and you just were in your true form and self, and you quantum leaped into another space where it all starts to actually come together correctly, because that dimension that everybody's going into are of their true selves. And they're following a time system like astrology that is actually in alignment with the true time system, not the Gregorian calendar system, which is why we have, leap years, and we have these weird offsetting time systems that aren't aligning people correctly with their life. And so this next 2 weeks, and right now, it's happening right now, to be very frank, there's no, you know what I mean? It's not like there's no more time left, because 6 months from now is the eclipses, and it is Jupiter coming to its fall position with a south node, K2, which is not good luck, sorry to say. I'm sorry.
It's like the mouse, come on.
I know it, yeah. Trust me, that's my Jupiter. I have my Jupiter there.
I know.
And so does he. But it will be a moment of like, are you going to let your beliefs from the old hold you back from true expression of yourself? Because if you want to go into the prison, which I hate to say, in traditional astrology, Capricorn is either the greatest achievement or it is an ironclad prison of holding yourself truly back from where you really are supposed to be aligned and go. But with Kronos, it's about time, right? So when you get Pluto and Saturn conjuncting with a node, with Jupiter, with eclipses, at the end of this year, beginning of this year, wouldn't that be the ultimate shift in time itself? And why do you think every day that goes by, you're like, how the fuck did the year go by? How did today already go by? How did I? It's all coming to a, as Terence McKenna says, it always comes to a 0 point, right? Like, and a time wave 0. So 2012 was the first one, a galactic one, but now the ripple effect is hitting now our Earth and where we're at now, if that makes sense. Astrologically, it's aligning for now its alignment of that shift. Time-wise, that shift in where people either own it and understand it and are aware of it. And I believe awareness just takes you to where you need to go. It always does in life, right? When you become aware of something, life changes in a minute. Like not even a minute, a millisecond, like right away. But when you're not, you feel like you're not in where you should be. You start to feel like the world's heavy. And it's that shift in perception of your awareness of things and being in the awareness of your truth that automatically dimension shifts in smaller ways every day. I think we're all time leaping right now all the time and we're not even realizing it. And that is a good question, but I think the eternity question is it an eternity of quantum leaps to a place to where you have to continually leap like a leapfrog till wherever this consciousness is ready to leapfrog to the ultimate level, which maybe this is the biggest level we've ever seen in our lives coming at 2020, which if you add 2020, it comes to 4, which in numerology, there's a lot of numerological, elements. But to me, 4 is a very weird number. It's the weirdest of all the numbers because it even looks weird, right?
Looks like Jupiter.
Perfect vision, too.
It looks like Jupiter, but you can almost turn it around and look like Saturn, too. But really, it to me, I mean, like Christopher Tecking, my friend,
exactly.
like, it's Uranus. It's really Uranus.
Exactly.
It's radicality. It's freedom. It's break free.
Yep.
So even though the transits are saying it's the opposite of break free, it also is saying it is the opposite of complete break free. It's either you choose not to break free or you choose complete freedom. And that is a scary thing because there's no gray.
No, I'm usually.
Because it comes down to the personal self with all this Cancer energy, which is home. Are we all ready to go home?
Are you a Cancer too?
Spiritually.
So am I.
Where home is not away from the earth on a spaceship in another dimensional time as far as like that star system. Home is within you aligning with your true self and that going where it's got to go.
I can't believe we're all set in Cancer.
I'm Sun in Cancer, but I'm
There's a lot of Cancers around here?
I'm a 29 degree Cancer on the cusp.
Oh, you're
right now.
29.
Yeah, I'm 22nd. So.
7/22.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, thank God I got another Leo here.
Awesome. So essentially, though, in reference to that, don't you believe it's always happening simultaneously? So the shifting and the shifting dimensions and moving into those different phases and places and spaces within ourselves, it's simultaneously happening all the time. So when you mentally choose something or your being chooses, and then so it is. It's simultaneously happening no matter what.
Yeah, I believe that there is a simultaneous, constant dimensional shift on a. I don't want to call it lower, but I think it's just much more of the training wheels.
Training wheels.
Right? Like when you're coming in and out of dreams, or you're having psychic, awareness about like a situation. Like, I'll be honest. Right when I got here, nobody was here. Right, and I'm like, well, my soul told me people will show up, so I ain't gonna trip right now. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna get my Sprite, and literally, how fast did that shift? By the time I got out of the bathroom, you guys all showed up. And
No,
I'm like,
we were
what
here.
the?
You just didn't see us.
Oh, well, see, then there's a whole other aspect of how perception,
Yeah.
perception right now is causing quantum leaps of negativity or positivity instantly. And when you shifted of awareness of like, you know what? Let me check my gut. Let me check. You know what? I know people are showing up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use a bathroom real quick, and if nobody shows up, letting go and surrendering to whatever it is it will be, and letting that be, boom. You guys were actually just in the other room.
Yeah, we were right there.
Right? So,
We got you.
and
We were
with a
holding you.
Sprite delivered to me. So there's a gift that
We're
comes
all
with
here.
it. There's a
Being
gift that
present,
comes
you get
with
the
it.
gift.
Totally. We are
Well,
all
what's
here.
interesting too
Yeah.
in these in systems like human design, the gene keys and stuff like that, this Pluto Saturn conjunction that's happening is on the 61, which is 61 is like the deepest occult mystery, like knowing the unknowable.
Interesting.
So it's all
What
about
is half
being
of
able to-
61 too? Like that would be 30
And a half?
30 and a half, yeah. Which is kind of funny because in astrology it's 30 degrees, but now you go out to that 30, it's kind of that weird little half, which is what? You go outside a little bit, which is where Voyager 2 now just reached, outside of our solar system, right? So we have two probes out in interstellar space with no understanding of what the hell's out there. Because if NASA tries to tell you they know what's out there, they have no fucking idea. That's why they send probes out there. You gotta remember, if it is such a big space and what it is, right? Like, let's say this whole room is space. We're talking about when they're looking at it, you would have to go into the carpet and go like all the way to the bottom of the carpet, and literally with like a little viewpoint, like if you were all the way down there to look all the way across the room, you would literally barely see any, like there is no way. And even just from that piece of carpet to go outside our solar system is to the top of the carpet. So to say that they understand, and that's if it's all 360 in every angle, there's that direction, there's this one, it goes all over the place. So these probes were only able to go during the 70s because of the alignments of Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, because they were using the right timing to be able to take pictures of them and to basically rocket launch them at the right periods, in which, ironically enough, in 2012 was a galactic shift point of 2012, December 21st, 2012, and if you looked where the planets were at, they had passed all those, so they could get through. And then in 2018 was the buildup of all the planets in their home positions, which is and of course tropic, but which is interesting to me because there is this kind of leaping into the unknown, and now humans are experiencing the unknown more than they ever have, because an awareness of ourselves is in the unknown literally right now. There's a connection always, but there is something that every civilization does this, and they leap. Mm-hmm. They don't die. They don't.
Right.
It's
That's
not
why so many
right?
of the civilizations are like, what? They just vanished. We don't know
Right.
where to. Yeah.
Right, or like let's even look at the dinosaurs. I did a past life regression once, and Merlin brought me to this great treehouse, and I was chilling with the dinosaurs up in the treehouse. Like, it was like super cool. Like, I was like, I could have been chilling here with the dinosaurs. But anyway, it was like when I tapped into the earth at that time, I was like, it doesn't feel like it was a mass extinction event to me. Sure, maybe science can prove a lot of that. But I believe that a lot of the souls or beings, maybe in the dinosaurs, had reached some sort of point. We don't know. Nobody knows. I mean, reptiles survived. So when they say extinction, no, that's not true. Alligators were there around during the dinosaur days. So there really was not an extinction event that they fear people upon of saying it's all over. when a lot of people, or not a lot of, well, who knows? Maybe there's a little alligator in me, but
Some of us have a little flea.
well, we all have a reptile aspect of the stem of our brain, right? But I think that there's this thing of this fear of when you look at the civilizations disappearing, then maybe it's a quantum leap into a dimension that's still there. What if the pyramids right now are popping right now? Right?
Pyramids are popping, like
if it's another dimension, right?
they're popping, like
They're
moving,
popping like there's
things
people
happening.
hanging out at the pyramids right now.
Right.
There's all this shit going on, but this dimension they're vacant.
Right.
What if this dimension is like a preschool, and once a certain part of the consciousness reaches a time to leap, the leap is not going to feel like you're going. And NASA makes you feel like you got to go to Mars. You gotta go outside, you gotta go in a ship. You're gonna have oxygen the whole fucking time anyway, and it's not gonna be fun. The leap is not even a leap, it just sits as it is.
Right here.
And
like
just
the room.
is.
Yeah, it's just another.
We're
So-
in the other room.
Right.
What's
we're in the-
happening?
Correct. It will not feel like it will not, what if the Egyptians just kept going? But they didn't realize that they leaped and it just stayed the same. What if right now, if we were to go to Egypt in the new dimension of wherever that the Egyptians in this dimension left that they didn't even know, what if it's just a glorious city and there's amazing shit going on? That's the things that I'm starting to ponder in myself. Like there's this show, oh man, I'm so bad with names lately. The Man in the High Castle,
Oh, yeah.
where that dimension was that the Nazis and the Japanese won, but they split it up, and there was that great the what is it called?
Pacific, and then
Yeah.
Right, yeah. There is that in between zone called the whatever zone,
like some neutral zone.
neutral zone. So, in that reality, though, the East Coast was all Nazi, the West Coast was all Japanese, and they really were living in that, and the souls feel that way. And then that whole show is about trying to connect in other dimensions, where the film tapes are of the dimension that we think of as now, where Americans won the war and and the Axis lost and the Allies won. So it's not like America only, but right. So what if these alignments that are so rare? Because you got to remember that for planets to come to dignity, which means their home area, for them, all the big boys, Neptune, that's a big planet. Saturn, which is its home, but it's with a karmic cycle of a south node eclipse cycle, and with Pluto, which those two only meet in reality in Capricorn every 500 years, basically, right? So there's this cycle now where finally after every 500 years we see, if you look at the last 2000, you see from 0 to 500, okay, Christ is now accepted, 500 to 1000, paganism and Christ energy kind of battle it out, and then by 1000 the Catholics have the grin on their face like, we got this. From 1000 to 1500 it's breaking apart of kingdoms from the church. I don't want to do this no more, basically. I don't want you to tell me what to do, Pope, right? 1500 to now, 2000 was, or 2019 and 20. So 2020 with Pluto Saturn is, we've expanded so much. Where is next? Think about where we're at in the world with so many things. Really? Is there much more that we really need? I can't even imagine even wanting what the next TVs will look like or whatever. We're at a point to where if you look at the physical world, you're kind of spaceships would be cool, but I really don't know if it'd be functional yet. But I don't feel like it's, right? What if that shift is gonna take us to a whole different place? And I think that this is all a theory. This is not a traditional horoscope per se, but it's something that I'm looking into with these alignments to look a little bit deeper than just how's it going to affect me in my relationship today, you know? Like, that stuff's great, but the big stuff to me are these new understandings of dimensions, which there is something to say about dimensions.
Yeah.
And dreams and how we go. A dream world is more connected to dimensions. If you've ever astral traveled or if you've ever really listened to your dreams, you know you're not here when you're in your dreams. You know you're not even in your bed anymore. You know you travel somewhere else and you go into a worldwide web version of dimensional shifts, right?
You don't think we're dreaming awake?
Well, then that's the whole other part of it. There's the part where maybe, of course, we're dreaming awake, or that maybe we're part of a story that's being written or being read by a god. But what if the feeling of God was reading the story and the couple last pages were at the end? What do you do when you read a book and you're at the end of the book?
I always go from the back to the front.
Oh, well, most people go from the front to the back, but even, I know in old text they went from the back to the front. It was done that way, right? But how funny, in this generation or this last couple thousand years, we've been reading front to back, right? Old Hebrew text, right? Went back to front. Right? What if we're switching back to front? What if the cycle has kind of reached to where now we go back? So maybe if my theory is wrong about dimensions, what if it's going to be, the Earth is going to be forced to go backwards? Like, no, you can't go to spaceships, can't go to this. No, you got to start going, let's take down these TVs, let's take down this cell phone stuff. What if it just starts going backwards again? Although with the galactic stuff, I don't really believe that fully, because it's about the next 6,000 years of light in the galactic cycle. So.
And isn't the Earth conjunct the galactic center?
Well, there's a lot of ways for people to understand this whole understanding of a galactic alignment. You have to understand the galactic plane. So the plane is there's an equator to the galaxy, which is like an equator on Earth. And our sun, it's not so much the Earth, it's first the sun has reached the galactic equator of the plane within that the galaxy we're in. So of course, as Earth's view, it's much more straight than as if we were with the sun and kind of, I always say we were in the shitter for the last 6,000 years. But so I think that but if we were going to take this back to reality here for a second, that the main part of this is like, in your life right now, you can't be afraid to really go where nobody's gone before, which is not so much about looking into weird places or weird things, but about you not being afraid to own who you really know you are, without this idea or sense that the world, the belief systems, and the structures of the laws that are not laws literally, but the written laws of how you should be, which are actually images and mirror reflections of a control system that did not want to wake humans up to really be who they are, to get the true power of who they are. Because even though this is not a very big fire sign time, this is actually a major quantum leap in reality itself. And we are physical beings in this reality, that the quantum leap is whether or not you can be the character you truly want to be in your life and create from that space. There's no more identity crisis. It is whether or not you are going to own that identity now or not. That's what the last Uranus Aries transit was, identity crisis. Right? Like playing around lots of identities. Now you've played around with all of them like little toys, and now you know which toy is your favorite of a person. And can they all work together? Like, yes, my Teenage Ninja Turtles hung out with my teddy bears and they hung out with my Hot Wheels. You know what I mean? I made my own little thing.
Right. You had your own whole
We all did.
world.
We all did. We all skateboarded or went on a bicycle or went in your friend's car and spit out the window and threw something at somebody for fun. Well, we did that. But,
Nice.
well, you know, you go to the Asian market, you buy pig hearts when you really don't like somebody and you just throw it at their house or something like that. But we've all found ways to identify with what we identify as ourselves. And what I've noticed in the spiritual community is a lot of people, and especially a lot of people have been hitting me up that are either astrologers or they're tarot or they're life coaches or whatever, like, my business is hurting right now. And I'm always like, you got to bring back who you were when you were unconscious. You got to bring back, I always say, like, for me, I had to bring back It's Fucking Palmer. But, because that's who I was on MySpace and, like, reality star and blah, blah, right? So by bringing him back with my soul self, I integrated my unconscious and my conscious and brought the best of both worlds, right? A lot of people right now are afraid to what they went through in their ascension to bring back the old unconscious parts of themselves back.
I'm lucky that it's so recent.
Does that make sense? It's like the edge, I'm calling it the edge that we all left for 7 years of the Scorpio transit that we went through, which kind of demolished everybody and went, maybe my edge is too much. Maybe I need to kind of, you know, use it in a different way. But there's a part of that edge and that desire and that bloodlust. I used a very extreme term. That is the lust of life that drove you while you were unconscious into life without feeling fear. And it's that has to be reintegrated. Not that that's bad, because if you look at anything as bad, guess what? Then you're going to always be bad.
Right.
I'm going to be bad. I'm going to be bad. I'm fucked up. I'm a fucked up person. Da da da. It's bad that I like to smoke a joint. It's bad that I like to do whatever.
No judgment.
You know what I mean? Like, so that stuff is what's holding a lot of our conscious collective from moving forward, especially those that don't want to wake because it's scary, because you face those two angles. You then go through your rite of passage, which is a dark night of the soul, to wake up through all your bullshit and all this shit. Then you see the universe for what it really is, going through the veil, and that's a lot to take in. So, this eclipse in the next 2 weeks and where everything's at as we're talking right now is, it don't matter how crazy it seems or how hard it might seem. If it's not in alignment, you just got to go, fuck it. Because if you make that turn, you're aligned in the right space. And you're not going to go through a really shitty, hard story in 6 months when it all comes to, you know, like convergence into new, but also ending old. We have a chance to enter in without crap now, opposed to entering in with crap and going through that craziness. So, I don't know. Wow, we got some people in here.
Yeah, I was checking out some. There was a little shit talking going on for a while.
There was some shit talking, and that's normal. That's normal.
I can't keep up with how fast people talk in your chat rooms.
Yeah.
Normal.
I just go heart, yep, great, perfect.
The shit talking is normal.
You know, I want to say, you definitely inspire a lot of people. You've inspired me
Thank you.
to think, and something that about everybody talking about Uranus, and you're so good at historically placing things. Love it. You're like a huge.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but you know, it's like with Uranus moving into Taurus, and the last time that Taurus it was in Uranus, it was the Great Depression. And
Yeah,
so,
it was the end of it, but into world, countries shifting, alliances, because Taurus is Pangea. It's Earth. And with Capricorn right now, this is who's going to rule the world. Like, this is Tears for Fears.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
Everybody does want to rule the world, and there are some people that want to rule the world like for real.
Yeah.
And those people right now are actually fucking doing it right now as we're talking.
Well, and I believe and feel like what you're teaching or what you're sharing is that we actually need to rule our own interior worlds.
Yes.
And that when we do that, so I took it and I'm like, it's not the Great Depression, it's the Great Expression. And that we're actually writing history. And that we actually can name the era of history that we're in. And that we are becoming self-actualized, fully self-actualized. And because we don't even know who we are, right?
Right.
So we're learning who we are. And then everything in life wants to be at its highest expression of itself, right? And so when you give yourself that opportunity to express yourself completely, fully, and wholly, solely, whatever it is, your jewel, your sprite, I mean, I don't know, like anybody can do anything all the time, but when you're in alignment from within yourself, that highest expression of yourself, then things are happening more naturally.
Yeah.
More naturally in the time that you're talking about, in that era of time that you're talking about, that's more natural. And so the question I feel like I came up that we can ask ourselves is like, is this the highest expression of myself at this moment, right? Because you're going to run the gamut in your life, right? And half the time you don't even show it to the world. But David shows it to the world, so I appreciate that and value that.
Well, yeah, it's that Saturn thing right now with South Node. Every second is going to be like
D-Day for everybody.
Well, I feel more like, it's more simple. It's like I was closing the garage to get here, and bam, the garage hit my thumb, and I went, ah!
Yeah.
Right? And then little things like closing this, and oh, this got caught on the corner here. We look at it much more frustrating. And I like how you bring up it's about the great expression, and it's a lot about how we deal with these snags right now that are teaching us to realign, to stay centered, and to then grow up and be aware, and with Neptune in aspect, drop it and let go and go, okay, hold on, let me realign into my true expression and perception too. It's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
It's simple, but it's like coming at from people so many different directions. They just have to learn how to
choose. But you chose when you hurt yourself. You chose, right? There were a million things in all of our day today we could have chosen differently, but we're here, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you could have chosen differently and been angry or moved on, right? But we didn't. You didn't. And you're not. So you continually can say what's...
But there's a bunch of people on my phone that want me to text message them back that I didn't text message them back, and I'm sorry that I'm doing this tonight.
He is busy right now with us, people who flew to see him. So, yeah, on a plane. Yeah. I just flew in yesterday. I literally woke up this morning, I'm like, where am I? This does not feel like my pillow. And then I was like, and the only dog I met yesterday was Neptune. Isn't that hilarious?
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so, I mean, all of our lives are divinely guided, but
it's
totally.
True. It's
totally.
true.
It's so true. It's so true. And so we're all here.
Destiny.
Yeah, totally. We're all in destiny together. That's the most amazing thing. That we're all, so I always say, it's like we literally come through one another for one another. Like literally we birth each other for each other.
Yeah.
We birth each other for each other. We come through one another for one another. And then we keep each other from each other. Isn't that fucked up? It's so fucked up.
Well, I think a lot of people are working through their own stuff, and that's where you have to release and be empathetic to people that they're going through the same shit, and if they try to block you, whatever. You're going through your thing, that's cool, and get back to yourself and just be like, this is where I gotta go in my alignment. This is uncomfortable, and you gotta look at it with Jupiter right now and be like, okay, let me look at the whole pizza. 90% of this sucks? Okay, I'm good now. Instead of getting in this long Neptune-Jupiter debate of like, okay, well 90%'s wrong, but maybe if I did this, then I can bring it down to 50, or I can bring... Jupiter already knows. When you Like when I hear a song, I'm a DJ, right? Like when this song's a couple years old, but when I heard this track, I bought it in 1 second. I didn't even have to question it. I knew, I was like, this was a sick, cool deep house track. You know, but it's this question of continually the cycle of Neptune of like tumultuous and multuous. Like, wait, I don't know, maybe I don't know.
The place that Neptune's at right now, we were talking about those codes, the 22.
Right.
The shadow is disgrace. The disgrace of lying to ourselves. And the higher octave of this is grace.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Earlier you were talking about like, it's kind of like this new dimension of just kind of like sitting down.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about the 22 is it descends. The grace just descends.
Just shows up.
Or we can just keep lying to ourselves over and over.
And also in the actual deacons and astrology, Neptune is in the Mercury one. Which is just, Mercury and Neptune are not friends at all. That's the fall position of Mercury. So Neptune right now is at literally with Jupiter squaring it, people are psychotic right now. That feed it in themselves by continually to stay in the same pattern constantly. And go until you finally are not psychotic enough to go, what does Albert Einstein say? Like, if the same thing happens over and over and you expect the same results, you're insane. And that's how I'm going to end this talk.
It's never ending.
That right now your choice is to either cut it or continue to be insane. And there's no medication that'll save you. Except the cut. Which is hard with Uranus, which is disconnection. With the semi-square to Neptune, which is Jupiter, which is I'm not going on that journey anymore. Fuck that, I'm going on this journey. And that feels cold with Saturn and Capricorn, like you're, like how you brought up, there's, what was the word you used?
Grace?
No, beside the other one, opposite of grace, like,
disgrace.
Disgrace, like I'm disgraceful because I'm doing this. It's like,
disgrace is lying to yourself.
Yeah, it's like lying to yourself. It's like, that's the holdback, and that's the cloaking of the fear of getting out of crazy situations.
Yeah. I think really what it is with this multidimensional shift that we're talking about, the disgrace, the lie to the self is not recognizing that we are the co-creator.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes, and that's where I've been very vocal about DV, about how she's putting out all this shit because the way that the religion institutions were set up was to act like you are not worthy and only worthy through that. So, anyway, thank you all here on YouTube. I'm gonna be DJing in like an hour. And I love even the haters on here too. I love them. I love you all.
No haters.
You know why? Because you gotta have that fleur de lis.
Templars up in here.
Fleur de lis?
We got Templars up in here.
That's so awesome. I can't believe that. That's so cool.
It's like the blackjack table. Like when Craig goes to play blackjack, and the dealer does this, he just goes, "That's bad juju," and he has to do it back to them, and they look at him like, "I'm gonna do some of that to you all." Actually, that's the best way to end it is all those crazy situations people are in right now, all you gotta do is this.
Okay, it's the move.
I'm moving on to the next. I have to move on. And that's that's Age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius is a fucking blackjack dealer that my time's up. I'm sorry. It was nice speaking with you, but I gotta go to the next table. That's Aquarius. It's like, that's the water bearer. Like, I'm pouring you water. You got your water. I'm moving to the next person. And then if somebody goes, "No, I need more," it's like, well, then you're fucking the next person up with water. Sorry.
But you've talked about this, and it's about teaching the next person how to get their own water.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but I think it's more of like accepting the grace of what's been given, and that bottle, that water that the Age of Aquarius pours you is everything that you need within it. The idea of Age of Pisces is that I need more. It's Jupiter and Neptune. And there's that whole thing in life, I need more money in the bank, or there's no way. I need all this. I need 48 waters, not 12. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I need 20 pairs of pants now. Like, what? Like, hold on, we gotta get
We
going.
need a lot because we're gonna give a lot. That's what we need. A lot. Oh wait, pictures.
All right.
Picture time. Okay.
Hold on. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for supporting the Deep Astrology. Go to highvibe.tv and watch it. Love you all. Bye.